Have you
Oh, look
have
at
you
you.
got us a doll show, one of them
Yeah, I got it
spirit
all.
box necromaniac talking to the dead voice things that you do on
Yes, I do.
the black box from the dark side? We're live, folks. Here, my name is Kelsey, and this is my cohort, Kevin, the haunted doll Kevin Kane.
Kevin on and off, Kevin Kane.
He is the great author of some 13 books. For the last 5 years, he's been working on number 14, but he keeps being distracted by his haunted dolls. And I think he's got one. I think tonight he can seriously say that he has a leg up on us.
Yes, I do. I have a leg up on you right here. Courtesy of my cat knocking over one of my large dolls. And I'm in the process of gluing it back together. Just the leg broke. The rest of her's okay. And now old Graham Cracker over there, looks like he's answering texts over there.
I'm so popular, can escape my fan club.
Your fan club. Oh Lord. Part of the UFO people.
All kind of all kind of strange ones. Anyway, we're going to be starting out as we have been for the last several shows. We are getting closer and closer, people, to getting into our 4th year of doing this wonderful insanity. And I don't think we've missed maybe 2 shows the entire 3 years. Maybe 2 shows.
No.
You missed one. I think we've been really consistent with this. So I'm proud of us. Regardless of what Kevin says, I'm proud of us.
Proud of us. I ain't say nothing.
Yeah, you never do. I have to do all the talking, don't I?
Hey, you just love to talk. You talk over everybody.
Well, I can shut up. You want me to shut up? It's all good.
Oh boy, now I get to talk the whole time.
Yeah. Look at this.
I can't.
You're not reading. You're worried about my tits. I'm showing you the words.
No.
Should I put on my wig when I do that?
No. Oh, that's Catherine's job, but she's not here.
She says she's going to be, but I think she fell asleep. I know how that goes. So anyway, what doll have you got for us tonight, baby doll?
I've got.
Hey, wait a minute. Where's the doll that leg came off of? That's the doll we should be talking to. Is like, does this hurt?
I don't want to drag her in here with her.
Are you bleeding? Do you bleed on the other side?
I don't bleed on the other side.
Oh gosh, I mean that's you should spotlight that doll.
On the other side.
That looks like an emo girl.
An emo girl.
You don't know what an emo girl is?
I think I do. Yeah. I've seen those out there. Okay. I've seen them.
Okay. Looks like an emo girl.
This is Heidi.
Heidi ho. We're having too much fun. And I don't know, we may not have too many guests tonight because it's Christmas.
Oh yeah, I see a big fat zero watching up there.
And here just
breaks my heart.
They'll watch it later. And sometimes the way you spread it over the social media, and sometimes it don't show in that little box up there. I guess you noticed that. But I reworded the Christmas song.
Yeah, I saw that weird gibberish thing up there.
Oh, shopping time, 'tis shopping time, it's shopping time. We're in the middle of the apocalypse. The best way to honor Jesus' birthday is to go shopping.
Well, yeah, don't you know? He had to go out and get in fights with people in stores. That's a great way to.
Let's go in debt, and be broke all year round. Welcome to the 2021 Shopocalypse.
Shopocalypse. I guess that's better than the zombie apocalypse or whatever they call it.
I don't know. Sometimes I could deal with the zombies better than I could real humans.
I don't know. That's a pain in the egg having to shoot them
Yeah,
all
but
in the
at
head.
least I know. At least I know what the zombies are up to. The humans, they try to. They smile in your face as they devour you. Arr. They place curses on you, and they'll go
Yeah.
Christmas shopping and run you over trying to get there, and then beat you up for buying the last bag of M&Ms.
Uh-huh.
Those are my M&Ms. No, they're my M&Ms. In the name of Jesus, they're my M&Ms. I curse you.
You
Got
know,
my M&Ms.
that makes me think of a really good, really short story I read on
Okay,
Reddit
let's have
this
it.
last week.
Let's read
This
it.
guy that was in the shopping, what am I saying? The supermarket.
Oh,
And you know
excuse me.
how at the register, when you go up to check out, they got the racks of candy to tempt you to buy,
Mm-hmm.
as you're trying to check out.
And all them
But
colorful packages.
he's up there and I think he had already said at one time that he was sick of and tired of how people let their kids be so disrespectful and not teaching respect toward others and themselves. And right behind him at this time was this little boy, probably no more than 7 or 8 years, well, maybe a little, maybe about 10 years old, and his mama there. And this boy was just being a little a-hole. And he told his mama he wanted one of those big chocolate bars up there. And she said, "No, we're about to go home and fix supper." "No, I'm going to have a chocolate bar," he said. She said, "No." I said, "No." He just kept on screaming, and he finally called her the B word. He said, "Listen, bitch, I'm going to have one of those chocolate bars." So mama, and now if I had called my mother that kind of name back in the day, I would have had a hand across the back,
Oh,
back my
I'd
hand
been,
across my face.
I would have been worse. I'd have been
And
dead. You wouldn't be talking to me.
yeah,
They
on the
didn't play
spirit
back
box,
then.
we taught you on the spirit box. But
Mm.
anyway,
And if they called the police wouldn't arrest your parents. The police would jump in and beat you with a billy club. Disrespecting your family. Bam, bam, bam.
But mama wasn't doing a thing. You know what she said to him? She goes, "Okay, I'll buy you one chocolate bar." Well, this guy, he just wants so bad to snatch this kid up and strangle him. But he had a plan. Guess what he did?
Oh, what did
He got up to the register and he took as the cashier's ringing him up, he grabbed that box of big chocolate bars the kid was talking about, dumped them all out on the conveyor belt, said, "Ma'am, I wish to buy all these." And he put the empty box back up on the rack. He said that was the best $24 I ever spent. He said it was priceless, the look on that little shit's face when he watched me walk out the store with all those chocolates.
So what did the little kid's mother have to say about that?
I don't know. That's where the story ended right
there. Okay. I bet
but,
she should have given the guys $24 and said thank you. If it'd been my kid, first of all, my kid wouldn't be alive either. So anyway, I'm not threatening to kill anybody, but they used to say back when I was a kid, they say, "I brought you in this world, I take you out of it," and they meant it too.
I heard that.
They didn't play.
I heard that several times.
Yeah. All right, let's get on with this emo doll here.
Oh, okay, it's an emote.
What's her name?
Yeah, her name is Heidi. Here,
Heidi Ho. Oh, do you remember? Do you remember Hanky the Christmas Pooh?
Yeah, I saw that on.
Yeah. So he would come out of the toilet.
Yeah.
He would come out of the toilet saying, "Heidi Ho." You don't remember that?
Yeah, he go, "Heidi Ho."
Yeah.
And he said,
Hey. What's that on your cheek there, Kevin?
"What's on my cheek?"
You been making out with Hanky again? Hanky?
No, I shut up. No, that's what's on your forehead up there. You been hanging out with it? Yeah.
Oh, I thought that read 666. I'm sorry.
I was just
all right.
Sharing this on.
It's on Ooh. Let's share it on Ooh.
I was sharing it on My Haunted Dolls page. There we go. So they'll tune in. All right. So yeah.
Christmas time. Christmas time. Let's shop and trend on Christmas time. All right. I'm going to gracefully step out of here.
Oh. Now, this is Heidi. And the reason that the main reason I adopted her, I even went out and looked for this doll, is I saw a horror movie called Heidi. Not Heidi of the Swiss Alps, not Pigtails Heidi, but there's a really awesome haunted doll movie out there called Heidi. And it's about a doll. And here, I'll take her hat off so you can see. They use a doll exactly like this one, the same exact type brand of doll. It looks identical to this, except the director who made the movie, he took the eyeballs out and teased up the hair to make it scarier. But the movie was so good, I said, I need to find me one of those because I knew he was using a real doll. And I found out what type it was, which I can't remember offhand now. But I found one out on eBay, same size and everything. And somebody asked me, well, why don't you pull her eyes out and tease her hair up? So I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want mine to look normal. So, but I didn't buy it. Just a bottom line, I didn't get this doll as a haunted doll. I got it as because sometimes I like to collect horror movie stuff. And I thought that'd be cool since I have scary dolls and I've got an Annabelle and a Chucky. Why not have a Heidi doll? So, but mine's a pretty Heidi doll. And she doesn't kill people. At least not yet. But surprisingly enough, just for fun, just for giggles, I did a one-on-one video that's posted out on my YouTube about 3 or 4 months ago. It was back in early fall, I think. And I did sit in this room here, just me and her, and I have the K2 meter out in the spirit box. I did a session, and she lit the K2 meter up many, many times. So apparently Heidi really is haunted. I don't think I got anything on the spirit box that night, even though I got some K2 responses. I think I might have got a few spirit box responses. I have to go back and watch that video again, but I didn't get a name or anything. So I just keep calling her Heidi. But let's see what we find tonight. Necrophonic again. Hey, those little girls said, hey, is that you, Heidi? What is your name? Is this your doll that I'm holding? Does this doll belong to you? What is the doll's name? Some kind of foreign language came through. I heard a little girl say, hey, at the beginning. Are you still here?
When you said, are you still here? A male voice said, yep.
So there's a male with us. What is your name?
I couldn't understand, but it said something. Same voice.
I heard a female voice sound like Tom. Is this Tom? There's some yeses and yeah. Tom, are you just passing through?
I got it figured out now.
What?
That's a non-binary doll. There was a female voice that sounded like it was about to say Casper. It said Casper. Are you friendly?
Oh, I heard a faint yes. Well, my name is Kevin. What is your name? Was that you setting the lights off on my little gray box a couple of months ago when I had this doll out? There's a girl in there too. Is there a spirit box? Not a spirit box. Is there a spirit attached to this doll? If there is, we'd love to hear from you. Can you turn your doll's head? Ow. I don't think it'll hurt the doll. I don't see a lot of movement in the dolls that I have. It'd be nice to.
You don't have your pod, whatchamacallit.
Yeah, because I'm using the table right now for the repair of the doll leg. So.
The doll.
But I could right quick. I'll leave this on. There's Dude again. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
I can slide the red pot up here on the desk and just turn the camera over here. Because I would love. There we go. Here, I'll turn the camera down here where y'all can see. Hey, come here. Sorry about that if I made anybody dizzy. If there's anybody with Heidi doll, please touch the antenna on the back of that skull there, and you'll see the eyes light up. Or if there's anybody here that just wants to do that, whether you're with the doll or not. It's pretty funny. His eyes light up and he squeals. It's not scary. You ought to give it a try. I hear the little girl again. Is that you, Heidi? Or, if your name's not Heidi, let me know what your name is. I didn't quite hear you. I heard you say something. What? Can you say that again? Sound like it said Shay. Is your name Shay? Is it Shay? If that's right, can you touch the antenna on that skull and light him up? He's kind of like that little K2, that little gray box that I had out with you.
I thought you were going to say that old gray mare.
Yeah. I'll leave that sitting out here. If it starts lighting up, I'll turn the camera over there. All right, Cameron, get back up there. Get up there. I hear a little girl talking in that spirit box, but I don't know. There we go. Hey, I hear the little girl again. Hey, are you with this doll? Is this your doll? So where are you from?
What?
Is there more? I didn't hear it. Is there more than one spirit with this doll?
I thought you said Atlanta.
Did you say you're from Atlanta? Yes. What year did you live in Atlanta? Was it a really big city when you lived there? Hey, that little girl keeps saying, hey. Is there anything you'd like to say? I don't want to just throw out boring questions to you. If there's something you want to say to start a conversation, go ahead. What's your favorite thing to talk about? It's Christmas time. Yeah, it's going to be Christmas this Saturday. Do you like Christmas? How do you like the little Christmas tree I have in the den with the dolls? There's some whispering there I can't make out.
What? Uh-oh.
Dude! There's a little giggle.
So do you know Zach Bagan?
Do you know Zach Bagans? Well, they got quiet. It'd be funny if crickets started coming through. So, do you like this house? Yeah. Oh, I heard good. It's hard to believe we've been here over a year and a half now.
Gosh. I think he's belching.
Do you like that big yard out there?
What?
Said stay or something like that. Do you ever go outside in the yard and play? I should ask. I heard one of our recordings out there one night, a little while back. I heard a little dog barking on it. Is there
Barking?
is there a little dog ghost here? What's the what? What's the doggy's name? I remember the dog barking. That's when I did that mannequin boy or the little mannequin baby. I had the live feed on it. And you could hear a dog start barking like it was in the room. Little puppy dog. Is there a little puppy dog here with y'all? Do you like puppy dogs? Do you like my kitty cat? She broke Miss Nellie's leg this past weekend. Is Miss Nellie upset? Well, I'm working on fixing Miss Nellie's leg here.
Fixing?
Fixing.
Are you fixing it?
Yeah. Well, we should move on to our. Oh, that sounded bad. We should move on to our Christmas ghost stories. Is there anything else you want to say before we end? I heard a couple of yes. Well, go ahead and say it.
Nope. Nope. That dog feels like Christmas like I do. Nope.
I thought I heard a voice say, "Can you show me something?" What did you want me to show you? I can't hear you. I can barely hear you mumbling. Is there something you need me to show you? Well, now I got quiet. Show you what?
Go.
All right. Well, last chance. Is there anything you need or want to say?
Oh no.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. I'm going to count down from 5. And so when I'm done, I'm going to turn this off. I want all of y'all, if there are any spirits that don't belong, you need to go back to where you belong.
Yeah.
And all spirits, back away. And I'm going to close this door. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yes.
There we go.
Evil spirits.
Oh, Heidi's not evil. Heidi's not evil.
Leave me.
No, she's not.
If the cross doesn't work, I'll stone you to death with the pebbles inside of it.
Now do you see she's
Uh,
doing her little sweet dance? Let me put you down over here. Well, I'll put you down over here. There we go. So I can see you better. Now, you said you got some scary Santa Claus?
stories, yes.
Ah. Well, let's get this thing started. What's it?
Well, let me look at what we got going on here.
Okay.
So this is the last show before we get into our well, to the Christmas, the weekend. It's
yeah, the
upon us.
Christmas week. And then next Tuesday
It's
would be
upon
the
us.
last one of the year.
And then we're talking about, as long as Kevin don't go AWOL on me, about doing a special New Year's Eve, bringing in the New Year's with a special show. What?
Did you get the bone thrower and the other
Yeah.
girl and whatever?
Well, we just whatever we can. Lisa, the bone thrower, unfortunately,
Yeah.
has come down with COVID.
Oh,
Her
COVID.
somebody in her family got it, and
She got COVID.
she got real ill. I hate to say it. I hadn't heard from her in a little bit. And I used to hear from her a lot. So anyway, let me respond to something. Tell them about your books real quick. Do some shameless self-promoting
real quick. All right, some shameless promotion. Here we go. There. Can't get more shameful than that. MyHauntedDolls.com. And if you like a bumper sticker that looks just like that, just going out to MyHauntedDolls.com to the store, and I've got them out there. In fact, I've got one right here. See, right there.
right there.
Let's see. Let me hide that. There we go.
Right there. If I had one, I'd put it on my car, but you never give me one. So okay, get rid of this person here. They're doing some kind of a spam. Block them.
Somebody
Votfees, so you click on that and you're gonna get a virus.
There we go. Yeah,
we both
I got rid of
them. Okay. Double blocked. You can't beat that.
There were two of them. You got one, I got one.
All right.
All right. And then, did I show my book covers like that right there? My Haunted Collection, The Dark Side. And what's another book I've got out here? Crimson, the Blood Painting. No, it's not Crimson Tide. It's Crimson, the Blood.
He does
painting.
that just to get your attention, you know that.
The ghost painting of Selma, not Selma.
Salem. He can't.
Salem, Massachusetts. You just keep talking and distracting. That's why. And I guess you got some of these here crazy books out here. All my covers keep disappearing. I see you got this right here. Look at this big old picture of it. Live in peace.
What?
Live in
Don't forget on the note of the type of show we're doing, it's datingthedead.com.
Dating the Dead. Where's that one at? And Spectrophilia, something like that.
Spectrophilia. So if you want to know what that is, you got to buy the book to find out. That's all I tell you. That book does have a misprint, if you hadn't noticed there.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says AM instead of I guess it's supposed to be NA instead of AM. But that's got big feed and exhaust pipes and bridges and all that stuff on there. In fact, there was a lady on this past Sunday night's episode of the Osbournes Want to Believe. There was a lady that told her story about having sex with an alien that took the form of a human.
Yeah. There's no doubt. I've got a bunch of that stuff.
So,
okay, so let's get into tonight. And then if you want, I've also got some of those stories built in here for just what you said.
Just what I
um,
said.
about alien sex. Okay.
Aliens.
Yes, you brought it up.
Ooh.
So we'll bring that into the show now. But let's get into some Santa Claus. You want to do some Santa Claus?
Yeah.
So, first of all, have you ever wondered, when you were a little kid, did your parents warn you about trying to catch Santa Claus at night?
Yeah, they did.
Okay. So, did you ever wonder in all your curiousness as to what would have happened if you actually did try to catch Santa?
Well, I always thought that meant no presents for you.
Well, there's this girl named Amanda, and when she was younger, probably the first or second grade, her sister asked her, "Do you know why elves have pointy shoes?" And she just kind of looked at her because at this point she was skeptical that Santa even existed. Now, I'm sure Kevin was never skeptical. And she was pretty sure it was her mom and not Santa. Anyway, she said, "No, I don't know why elves have pointy shoes." Well, she said elves have pointy shoes so they can poke out the eyes of children who see Santa
Oh.
Claus. Well,
Oh.
that stuck in her memory for life.
Oh.
How do you do a wicked Christmas carol? Do you know how to do a wicked Christmas carol?
Christmas Carol? No, I haven't done one yet.
Okay, I
How
don't
do you
know.
do a wicked Christmas
I don't
Carol?
know. I will have to look that up. Okay. So there's this Amy Lynn. Amy Lynn wrote this. Amy Lynn, and she lives in Napa, California. She said, "And my scary Christmas story is when I was a child, always these little innocent little children, 6 or 7 years old. One of our cousins in her early teens told us that if we peeked and saw Santa Claus in the middle of the night, that Mr. Sandman, give me a draw, would come throw sand in our eyes and we would go blind." Can you
Oh.
imagine? I never, were you ever told that? I was never told that.
No, I never heard that.
No, I remember just, you're posting all kind of crap. Just give me a notification.
Oh, I'm sharing this video.
I remember
So this is crap, huh?
yeah, I remember just being terrified and scared to death. There was an atrium in the center of our house, and I could see from my room into the living room, which is where Christmas trees were. And I never peeked to see if I could see Santa in the middle of the night because I didn't want Mr. Sandman to throw sand in my eyes and make me go blind.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then it never gets right. I just don't want to think about all that. You don't want to think about all that. Now, what do you think about these wicked Santas? Have you heard the wicked Santas?
Well, I've heard some scary Santa stories about
Oh, okay. I'm talking about
crazy
some real
dressed
life.
up like Santa.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Christmas and ghost stories. I won't go there yet because those are really scary because they're real stories of real things and real wicked, evil people. So we all know when I started reading that last week, The Christmas Carol by who?
Charles Dickens.
You got it. Bing, 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 bing. He wins. The bright light and the calm watchdog. I had an unusual visitor on Christmas Day 2008, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't Santa Claus passing by my house in Bloomington, Indiana. The day started in typical fashion with the opening of gifts and around the Christmas tree. I served an early Christmas dinner for family and friends, and everybody departed by 5 p.m., except my sister and brother-in-law who lived with me. They were sleeping in a bedroom at the end of the hall with the door open. I went into my bedroom with my dog, Toby, and I shut the door securely. I was just dozing off when I heard the latch on my bedroom door open. I waited several seconds for my sister or brother-in-law to ask me whatever they came to say, but there was no other sound. It was almost 7 p.m., so my bedroom was pitch black. I had left lights on in the kitchen and bathroom, and there were lots of Christmas lights in the living room, so the hallway would have been well lit. I would be able to see whoever was at the door just by lifting my head. I pushed the blankets down, lifted my head from the pillow, but just as I was or would have been able to see who was at the door, an extremely bright light hit my right in the eyes. I shielded my eyes and yelled, "Turn off that beep, 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 beep light. You're blinding me." The light immediately disappeared, and I heard the bedroom door latch close. My bedside light is a touch lamp, so I tapped it on, looked around the bedroom. There was no one in the bedroom except me and Toby. Toby jumped off the bed and went to the door without showing any signs of alarm. At first, I wasn't frightened because Toby is a Dutch Shepherd, well trained and to be an excellent watchdog and proven personal protection dog. Since Toby was already up, I decided to let him go outside and see what sis or brother-in-law needed. When I went into the hallway, I could see both of them still in bed. I took Toby to the living room to let him outside, and there was nobody there either. So who opened my bedroom door and turned a spotlight on my face? Like most people, the thoughts of loved ones are always close at hand during the holiday season. When I first went to lie down, I was thinking how happy I was that my small family had enjoyed a pleasant Christmas. But it would have been so much better if my mother and brother had still been alive to share it with us. I would like to think it was brother's spirit stopping by to say Merry Christmas. I still think of you too. I haven't been able to debunk this strange event or find any kind of rational explanation. I'm half afraid that my heart stopped during my sleep, and the light I saw was the bright light people report after near-death experiences. Huh. Leave it to me to see the stairway to heaven and ruin my chance at eternal paradise by saying, "Turn off the goddamn step light." I made a mental note that if I ever see another light, to clean up my language, just in case. So what do you got, Kevin? You got a good story for us?
Yeah, I got another here figure that's supposed to be
Go figure.
sort of Santa's little helper, but not in the way you think of a normal Santa's little helper.
Ain't nothing normal about Santa. Have
This
you
is
ever?
about
I got a question for you, real quick. Have you ever
okay.
received, or do you know any kid that ever actually received coal as a present for being bad?
No, I've not. I don't know anybody who ever
And see,
has.
I think that's wrong because I've known some pretty evil little kids that should have gotten bags of coal for Christmas. And so I think that's a false story. I don't think bad kids get coal because I've known a bunch of bad kids, and I know you have too. Don't lie
Yes,
to
I
me.
have. Yes, I have.
So I think that I still got a few days. I'm going to go pick up a bag of coal. I got a neighbor. I'm going to give it. I'm just going to leave it discreetly on their front porch,
Oh.
and I'm going to say, "Merry Christmas, ho ho ho."
Well, I've got this here story. Let me see if I can throw up an image here to go
Don't throw
to
up.
go with
Don't
this
throw up. Don't throw
story.
up. If you got to throw up,
I'm
let
not
that
going to
throw.
actually
You
throw
said
up,
you're going to see if you could throw up. You just said you're going to throw up.
Actually, throw. I said throw up a picture on the
Oh, don't throw up on a
screen.
picture
You
either.
interrupted me as you usually do. All right, so let me put up here to go with this Hans Trap story here. Here's a creepy. I don't know why my computer wants to run slow right now, and of all times, there we
Because
go.
you're
Hans
I
Trap.
started to say something evil.
Hans Trap, the legendary boogeyman from the Alsace and Lorraine regions of France. And I may have shared this last year, but
I don't remember it.
But who cares? I'm going to retell it for our new audience members.
Yeah, since we have an audience of 0 right now,
or so we think.
Oh, who knows?
So
all our faithful followers are not here. What happened? What is this? There's no face on that thing.
Yeah, it's a statue of Hans Trap.
Hans Trappenheimer.
Faceless, creepy boogeyman. So when Christmas approaches, naughty children in the Alsace and Lorraine regions tremble when their parents utter the words, Hans Trapp is coming.
Oh.
Everyone in that region knows the tale of Santa's evil counterpart.
Mm.
According to the legend, during the 15th century, there was a rich and powerful man who lived in the heart of Alsace.
Rich and powerful.
His name was Hans Trapp.
Hans.
The people of Alsace knew him to be vain, cunning, heartless, and cruel.
Sounds like Kevin.
Hi. His life was given over to his life was given over to lawlessness and debauchery.
Now
That's
Kevin. That's Kevin.
That's not Kevin. That's Kelsey. And his only goal was to enrich himself by all means necessary.
Look at him.
Kelsey.
He's got a estate over there in Chelsea with $5 billion.
Over there with his wish machine selling them.
And then just deported a perfectly good white horse off his property probably because it was white, and white is a sign of purity. And God, please get the white out of Kevin's face.
It had nothing to do with the horse. It was the owner, anyway.
Oh, she's against lesbians too.
So back to the story I'm trying to tell here. It was said that Hans Trapp worshipped Satan and used black magic and occult rituals to obtain his wealth and hold on to his power.
Sounds like Kevin.
That sounds like Kelsey. So when the Catholic Church became aware of these misdeeds, Hans Trapp was arrested and brought before the Pope in Rome.
That's what they needed to do.
He was excommunicated from the church for the crime of sacrilege. When he returned to Alsace, he was ostracized by the local people. Everyone fled from him as if he was a wild beast.
Yes.
His money and land was confiscated, and he was left penniless. They say he was forced into exile in the forest and isolated himself from the rest of society. He found shelter on the mountain of Geisberg in Bavaria, Germany, where he built himself a makeshift shack made from sticks. The solitude caused him to lose his mind, and he spent his days brooding and dreaming of revenge. His anger and resentment were intensified, and he became more deeply devoted to Satanism. Descending into madness, Hans Trapp began to dream of eating human flesh. The evil man was obsessed with a desire to bite into the flesh of a human arm, a leg, or a thigh. He roamed the countryside and disguised himself as a scarecrow by stuffing his ragged clothes with straw. He spent his time gathering sticks and hay in field and lying in wait, looking for the perfect victim. One day, he spotted a young shepherd boy making his way through the woods. The boy was only 10 years of age, but Hans Trapp was determined to kill and eat him.
Oh, God.
As he stared at the young boy, he began to drool at the mouth, imagining biting into his delicious and tender flesh.
Sound like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Before the boy knew what was happening, Hans Trapp pounced, attacking him viciously and running him through with a sharpened stick. Then he dragged the dying child back to his shack, where he cut the boy into small pieces and roasted them over an open fire. When his monstrous meal was ready, Hans Trapp licked his lips and prepared to taste human flesh for the first time. However, before a morsel could enter his mouth, a bolt of lightning came from the sky and struck him dead. As the story goes, God would not allow the abomination to continue and decided to end the crimes of Hans Trapp once and for all. Since that time, Hans Trapp has remained a terrifying legend in the folklore of Alsace and Lorraine. Every Christmas, he goes from house to house, clad in his scarecrow disguise, scaring the life out of small children and drooling greedily over their tender flesh.
Remember,
So, be
remember,
good for heaven's sake.
remember at the beginning of this show, Kevin brought out a leg.
That's a doll's glass
Yeah,
porcelain foot.
just like a Christian, always
I'm
eating flesh and drinking blood ritualistically.
Hey,
Yeah, we know Kevin's into
Hey.
human sacrifices. So that's
no, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I don't.
Do you do
I do
communion?
not. I'm not Catholic.
Y'all don't
We
do, you drink the
in the-
wine and
We have in our church, which is more on the Baptist side, we have
you got the
little
grape
cups
juice.
of grapefruit.
Yeah.
And we have a little old unleavened cracker thing that they buy.
I know the little wafers, what it's called. I have some up here.
Yeah.
So Kevin symbolically eats flesh and drinks the blood of a
The flesh of Christ, which really
executed man
he's
hung on a cross
it's
at 33. I know it's
Listen,
symbolic, but it's like,
crazy.
I know, but can you imagine? It's
In
like
the Lord's Supper, Christ did not slice his flesh off, and he had bread. He
I
broke
know
it.
the government did.
He just loved to drive people crazy. And here comes Captain Marie to the rescue.
Do we have company?
We have company.
Yes, we do.
Guys, I'm so late tonight.
Never better never than late. I mean late than never. Did she fart on me?
Ooh. I
No,
farted
she
on
not.
you.
I'm sorry, but this is Christmas and we've been drinking.
Oh, and y'all aren't sharing?
No, there's none
I got
left now.
Sweet tea.
Called sweet. Yeah, it's called Long Island sweet tea.
No, it's not Long Island sweet tea.
Oh, he knows them drinks, don't he?
Well, I know there's no actual tea in Long Island iced tea.
There's one thing. There's one thing about Kevin's house. It's always happy hour.
Because we
Okay.
drink of the Holy Spirit.
I'm going to go over one more, and then maybe Catherine will have one for us too.
Okay.
So I'll let Catherine get ready to go, and I'll read my story. It was Christmas time of 1995 or 96 at my aunt's house on a reservation in North Dakota. Some of my family was in the living room watching television. The kids were playing in the rooms or sleeping, and my uncle, my aunt, and I were sitting at the table putting a puzzle together. My cousin, who worked at a casino, would come home around midnight or 1 a.m. This night, as she pulled up and was walking toward the house, she looked in the window and saw me sitting at the table, my uncle sitting across from me, and someone standing to the left of me, and someone standing in the corner. So she continued to walk in the house, thinking nothing of it. As we were sitting there talking, she looked at me and asked who was standing next to me a few minutes ago and who was in the corner. I told her no one, and she said, "Oh, yes, there was someone standing next to you. It looked like your mom, and she was playing with your hair. I have long hair, you noticed, right? Which I used to wear down all the time." She said the person was running her hand on my hair like a mother does to a child. It kind of freaked me out, being I was probably only 12 or 13 at the time. My cousin swears up and down that someone was standing over me, rubbing my head and watching me put the puzzle together with my aunt and uncle, and that there was another person standing behind this person. We got around to thinking it was probably her mom and that she saw. She had passed away on her birthday a week before Christmas back in 92. In my family, we consider our aunts and uncles to be just like our moms and dads. After thinking that it could have been her, it didn't scare me so much. However, we couldn't figure out who the person was standing in the corner. And always around Christmas time, something strange always happens. And we just think it's her visiting us. And now, let's turn it over to Miss Catherine.
All right, I'm going to tell you the story of the ghost of Walmart.
Oh.
You go into Walmart, you're shopping for one thing. You place it in your buggy, and you're walking through there, and you're shopping, and that's the only thing you're going to get inside that Walmart store. But there's this little elf that keeps putting things inside of your buggy, and it continues to grow and grow and grow, and you don't know how those things get there. And because you only see that one thing that's in your buggy that you went in their store for, and when you get up there to the checkout line, guess what? There's a million things in that buggy, and you've got to pay for them all, and it's expensive. Now, I don't really have any Christmas stories, ghost stories right now, but that's the scariest story in the world to me.
Yeah, because that's her real life story. That was not made up.
That was not made up. I went for one thing and came out with a bunch of stuff.
So, what about Mr. Kevin Kane? Does he have anything on the agenda for Kevin?
Yes. I
Move
wanna
over.
share
Your
one.
face is half cut off. Get your whole face. I know your face is. Oh God. Ugh.
But guys, I am working on something. I'm working on I'm gathering up all the stuff for the New Year's Eve party.
Ooh, she's having a party. Okay. What in the world?
And I will have my other computer set up so I'll have a camera.
Okay. Okie dokie. You gonna show it live or something?
No, she's gonna show it dead.
We're actually going to open the Dibbit box.
It always cracked me up when people say we got live music. I was like, that's probably better than dead music. I don't know. Live tonight if they don't die beforehand.
We're going to open up a Dibbit box. I may have some Ouija boards set out. I don't know. I'm going to have a bunch of stuff to do on the 31st.
Oh.
Yeah, and we're gonna
the New Year's Eve party.
and we're gonna rebrand ourselves instead of the Abnormal Alabama and My Haunted Dolls live stream. We're gonna call it the Abnormal Alabama and My Haunted Dolls Dead Stream.
Oh.
The Dead Stream.
Dead
Stream.
Dead Stream.
So tell me, Kevin, what do you like about speaking with the dead?
What do I like about it?
Yeah.
It's creepy. That's what I like.
You like creepy things?
It's spooky. It's the unknown.
Well, that's why Kevin likes me. I'm creepy, spooky, and unknown.
He's creepy and he's spooky.
And a little bit, okay. All right. Next, let's have a story. What's
Okay,
that? Thanksgiving what?
Thanksgiving Chicken Shed, the first book I ever published
Oh, God.
about my grandmother's story she told. And this is Ellen and the Strangers. And that's her. Let's see if I point this right. That's my grandmother right there. And then over here is her sister Ellen.
I hate to inform you, Kevin. Can I help you out here?
What?
That is not them. That's a picture of them.
You little bald-headed monkey. You know what I meant.
No, I didn't. That's what you said.
Mr. Particular.
Be precise. Be precise.
This is sort of it was near the holidays when this happened, and it has something to do with the unknown, an unknown power that she witnessed. So I'm just going to read it out here. Do you know that we are never alone in this world? Even the Savior Jesus Christ had himself an angel tending over him when he was praying so hard in the Garden of Gethsemane the night before he was sent to be crucified. The Bible tells us that God always sends his angels to watch over us when we cry out to him for help. I believe that strongly. In fact, I've seen it for myself. And I forgot to clarify when I wrote this. It's in the words of my grandmother, like she's talking. So it's first person and there's slang. So when I was about 10 years old, my older sister Ellen, came down sick with pneumonia. It was the early 1930s, and we didn't have the medical technology that we have now. We had to use old home remedies and a country doctor. It was the winter time and freezing in Alabama, which didn't help. We lived in Carrollton, Alabama at the time, which weren't but a tiny place hidden away back in the woods in Pickens County. Most of the world probably didn't even know it existed. We were pretty far out from any roads and pretty much left on our own. Our house there was small with a living room, a kitchen, and 3 small bedrooms, one for Mama and Daddy, one for the girls, and the other one for the boys. Ellen was only about 12 at the time and had been sick for several days. Mama had kept her under a heavy blanket on a cot in the front room. All of us kids slept all cramped up in those 2 bedrooms of ours on account of the house being so small. Mama put out a cot for Ellen in the living room to keep her separate from us so we wouldn't catch it from her. I remember Ellen looking so pale and weak under that blanket Mama had stitched together with her own hands years before. Ellen shivered and shook under that blanket and could barely open her eyes. Broke my heart in two to see her like that. Mama placed the cot as close to the fireplace as possible to try to help keep the cold off her. We'd gotten a pretty good bit of snow on the ground. Snow can be pretty scarce in Alabama on account of we're so far down south. Old Man Winter decided to give us some this time, and I believe it was several inches. Travel was pretty bad. It was all the doctor could do to make it out there to see Ellen. We kids got our own coats and gloves that Mama had made for us for the winter time, and we all piled out the door into that snow. I believe we made a snowman every step of the way. I looked all around at the snow blankets covering the hills around us and how I wish I had a camera back then to take pictures of it. We went down to the creek where we usually went to fish in warmer weather. It plumb froze over. We dared each other to walk out there on the ice without cracking it, but none of us could muster up the guts to do it. After playing in the snow a good while, I went back inside to get warm. I came in the front door and saw Mama standing near Ellen's cot. The doctor was there, hunkered over Ellen, looking like he was examining her. Mama looked over at me and said, "Mitt," that was her nickname, "Mitt, why don't you go on into the kitchen to get yourself warm? Me and the doctor got to talk." So I went on into the kitchen. There was a firebox in there we used to warm the room and sometimes to cook over. Mama had the fire lit in there and a pot of homemade vegetable beef soup boiling away in the cast iron stove. I went on over there next to the fire and sat down on Mama's stool. Boy, that soup smelled so inviting. I never knew anybody who could make good homemade fixins like Mama. Our kitchen was kind of small, but many a great meal was cooked there. I was so worried about Ellen, and it was preying on my mind. I knew the doctor weren't going to have good news. I started praying for Ellen again while I sat there on that stool. I'd been praying for days ever since she got sick, but I weren't about to give up. The doctor said Ellen still had a temperature and did not look like she was any better. He didn't give Mama much hope. Ellen was asleep again when he left. Mama sat down next to her and began to cry real soft. I went in to where she was and stood next to where she sat, wrapped my arms around her. She had the most beautiful dark hair and complexion, Indian woman. Her family was pure Cherokee Indian, so that's where she got that beauty from. I petted her hair and whispered to her, "It's going to be all right, Mama. God will heal her." She looked up with those deep brown eyes etched with worry, held on to me and buried her face in my neck, and we just cried together for a little while. Later that evening, I helped Mama make the rest of the dinner. She took a bowl of soup in to Ellen and fed some of it to her, or at least as much as Ellen would take. We knew Ellen needed strong prayer. When we all gathered in the kitchen and sat down to dinner, Daddy had us all hold hands around the table and we prayed for her together before we blessed the food. We were a pretty big family already by that time, so that was a lot of prayer that we sent up. Everybody started eating in silence. Directly, we heard a knock on the door. Now, who in the world could that be out in this mess? Mama wondered out loud. It had started back snowing again a few hours before. A body would have been crazy to be walking in those conditions after dark. It was 6 in the evening by then, and the temperature had really dropped from what it had already been. Daddy decided to be the one to go see who was hammering away at the door. When he opened it up, 3 ladies stood out there on the doorstep wearing black coats and hoods. "Land sakes, ladies," he said, "what are you doing out there?" The first woman standing closer to the door, who'd done all the knocking, stepped forward and raised her face to him. "Mister, we've been walking out here in the cold a long way today, and it's dark now. May we come inside for a little while and get warmed up? Perhaps you might have some food you could share. We are powerful hungry right now." Daddy froze in place as he looked into her deep blue eyes peeking out from under that hood. He told me later on that there was just something about them when he looked into them that made him feel so peaceful and safe and secure in letting them in. So he did. By that time, we all gathered in the living room for a look. Mama stood behind us and stepped around to get a closer look. Daddy moved aside as the 3 ladies came in, and he closed the door behind them. The 3 of them took off their coats and smiled at us. Never before had I seen such beautiful faces. They all looked real young, like they couldn't have been no older than late 20s or early 30s. All 3 of them were slim. They wore identical plaid dresses and their hair up in buns. 2 of them were white, and the third was a colored woman with the most brilliant green eyes like emeralds. The first woman who had spoken to Daddy stepped forward and said, "Well, hi there. My name is Anne Marie Carter." She then motioned to the other white lady standing next to her, who I judged looked a little younger than her but had identical dark hair and blue eyes. "This is my sister Sybil." Then Anne Marie turned toward the colored woman and motioned toward her. "And this is Magdalena." Both ladies nodded hello to us and spoke in unison. "How do you do? How do you?" I thought there was something mighty peculiar about him. I looked at Mama, and she was the color of cotton. She looked like somebody could have knocked her down with a turkey feather. She finally got her words together and talked to him. "Where do you ladies come from?" The 3 of them never stopped smiling. The one called Anne Marie seemed to want to do all the talking. "Oh, we came from a small Baptist church over in Mississippi. We were on our way to visit family down in Birmingham. Our horse was getting pretty tired, so were we. So we decided to look for a place to stop for a while." "You must be hungry too," Mama said to her. "We was just having some supper ourselves. Please come have some with us. It's hot soup, and I'll bet it hits the spot." "That sounds like a right fine offer to me," Anne Marie said back. The other 2 ladies nodded their head in agreement. Mama showed them in toward the kitchen, but first warned them about Ellen. She told them about her being real sick and that they should keep their distance. The 3 of them slowed to a stop all of a sudden and just looked at Ellen, real passionate and sad-like. "You don't say," Anne Marie spoke again. "Will she be all right? She's so young." "We can only pray," Mama replied. Ellen still lay wrapped tight up in that blanket like an enchilada in a cot. I wished so much with all my heart there was just something I could do for her. We all went back in the kitchen following Mama and the 3 ladies. Daddy brought them some chairs, and Mama sat them some bowls and spoons out at the table so they could sit with us. Anne Marie sat down next to me. I could not take my eyes off her for a second. I was so mesmerized by her face. Her skin was like that of a porcelain doll. She looked back at me with such sweetness in her eyes. Those blue eyes were looking up in the sky. I swear I was almost looking into heaven. "Why, hi there, little one. Are you enjoying the snow?" I couldn't keep the dad blame stutter out of my voice as I tried to talk to her. Yes, ma'am. It's right pretty out there." The twinkle in her eyes made me think of stars blinking away in the sky. I saw a lot of snowmen out there in the yard as we walked up. Is that your handiwork? Yes, ma'am. Me and my brothers and sisters. Anne Marie looked all around the room at them. You sure do have a house full of them. Have they been good to you? Well, most of the time they are. I didn't think this a lie because even though we all fought, most of the time I weren't dead yet, and that had to count for something. She glanced toward the living room and then back to me. I bet you're mighty worried about that big sister in there. I looked down at the table and nodded yes to her. Don't you worry none about that. She's going to be just fine long as you don't lose your faith in the good Lord above. No, ma'am, never. At the end of the table, Mama sat watching us. She lowered her soup spoon to the table, took up her napkin in her hands, and buried her face in the napkin as she let out a sob. Daddy sat at the other end of the table. He got up, walked around to her, and helped her up from the chair. Mama just needs a moment, so please excuse us, he said to the ladies. Then he held Mama in his arms as he walked her out of the kitchen to the back of the house. Mama rested her head on his big shoulder the whole way as she kept sobbing. While Mama and Daddy were away, the three ladies kept us kids entertained with stories about where they were from. Anne Marie and Sybil were Sunday school workers for the little children in their church. And when they weren't working at church, they lived on their family farm where they helped with chores. Magdalena helped them out with their work. Anne Marie told us they were going to visit a sick family member, but she didn't go into specifics about it. Instead, she started talking to us about Ellen. She asked me if I was praying real hard for Ellen. I told her, yes, ma'am, and that I'd been praying my head off every day. She winked a sparkling blue eye at me and said, that's the way to do it. I judged right there that these were pretty decent women and they believed in the Lord and loved him with all their hearts. You could tell by the way they knew the Bible so well. Anne Marie mentioned Job in the Bible and about all the hardships he went through, losing his family and battling illnesses, but he never lost his faith in the Lord. That's the most important battle you can fight in life, Anne Marie told us, battling to keep your faith in God even when things get to their worst point in life. When loved ones get sick or die, that is when we really want to start questioning God. The trick is, even in those darkest moments, to still keep your faith alive and know that God is still in the miracle working business. Don't give up on him because he'll never give up on you. After a while, Mama and Daddy came back to join us. Sybil gave the idea that maybe singing a few hymns together might help lift our hearts. It certainly pleased the Lord because he loves to hear praises being sung. So we started singing Amazing Grace, my most favorite hymn, together right there around the kitchen table. It sounded so pretty, just like we was in church. The voices of those three ladies outdone all of us. Their voices sounded like something sent straight from heaven, like angels singing. After a while of singing, it was time for us kids to go to bed, and Mama asked us to say goodnight to our guests. I heard Daddy speak to the ladies and offer them to stay and share the bedroom with Mama, and he'd just make himself a bed out in the living room where Ellen was. Anne Marie told him nothing doing and that they'd best be on their way. It's up to you, Daddy told them, but please come on back if you get out there and change your mind. It's colder than a well digger's rump out there. Daddy always had a colorful way with words. I watched the ladies say goodnight and then leave out the door to go back to their wagon. I couldn't believe they'd be crazy enough to go back out in that cold, but they would not have it any other way. Later on that night, I lay in my bed looking up at that old cracked bedroom ceiling, and I thought about Ellen. Every once in a while, I heard her in the living room coughing real hard. I guess about half an hour went by, and then I noticed I didn't hear her coughing no more. I lay there and listened to the stillness of the house. Something didn't seem quite right to me. I guess I was overly worried about Ellen and felt like I needed to go and check her. I pushed back the covers, got out of bed, and went over to the closed bedroom door. Opening it real quiet like, I stepped out into the dark hallway and tiptoed down a little way till I could see into the living room. That cold, hardwood floor nearly froze my toes, but I quickly forgot about it when I saw what was in the living room. Anne Marie was there kneeling down next to Ellen. I stopped in my tracks. I could see her face just as plain in the light of the fire. She held her hand out over Ellen, and she had the most peaceful look on her face as she whispered. Ellen lay there with her eyes closed, and I guess she was asleep from the looks of it. I looked further and saw Sybil and Magdalena standing real still, almost in the shadows behind Anne Marie as they watched her. As my eyes focused, I could almost see a glow about these three ladies. I thought to myself, they must have changed their minds and come back. Maybe Daddy let them in and I just didn't hear it. I had not been to sleep at all yet that night and could not believe I hadn't heard them come back or noticed Daddy get up. I then noticed Daddy was nowhere to be seen. In fact, it dawned on me at that moment that the sound of his snore was coming from his and Mama's bedroom where he was sound asleep. I could barely make out Anne Marie's whispered words as she kept her hand held out over Ellen and looked down at her. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I recognized plain as the sun that she was quoting scripture in the Bible from the book of Matthew. She took her hand and gently stroked Ellen's forehead and cheeks with her fingertips. Something told my heart real strong to leave well enough alone and that everything was going to be all right. So I eased back down the hall, careful not to make a sound. I slid back into the bedroom and eased the door shut real nice and quiet like. As fast as I could, I tiptoed back to bed and pulled the covers over me. Next thing I knew, it was morning. The sun shone through the window so bright on my face as I woke up. I could hear lots of talk coming from the living room as I sat up. So I made my way in there to see what the commotion was all about. When I got to the end of the hallway into the living room, my jaw almost dropped off my face when I saw what was going on. Ellen was sitting up on that cot just as pretty as you please, talking to Mama and Daddy and saying how good she felt. I could do 100 handsprings right now, Mama, she chirped, and I sure am powerful hungry. Ellen looked over at me and grinned real big. All the color had come back to her face, and her eyes were just as bright as sparklers. Check her forehead, Daddy told Mama. I did, and it's just as cool as a cucumber. I just can't figure it out. One day she's on her deathbed, the next she looks like she's ready to run a country mile. Ellen told them she felt finer than frog hair, and she looked it too. She said all the fever and chills felt like they were gone. She weren't coughing none. Her face was completely clear. Her voice was completely clear and strong. Mama told Daddy to go fetch the doctor real quick. By now, all the kids were wide awake and in there with us having themselves a look-see at Ellen. Nobody could believe what they saw. I looked up at Daddy and said, it must have been that extra praying that Anne Marie did last night after the three of them ladies came back. I looked around the room for them, but they were nowhere in sight. Where are they, Daddy? He looked down at me so weird. What the fool you talking about, girl? Those women ain't been back here since they left yesterday evening before we went to bed. They're long gone. But I came out in the hallway last night and saw them in here praying over Ellen, just as plain as I see you standing here right now. Daddy eyed me a moment, rubbed his chin, and shook his head real confused like, I don't know how to explain that one. Maybe you was dreaming and didn't know it. The doctor got there later that day and checked Ellen over. He couldn't find any more sign of the pneumonia. She was already up and playing with us before the day was over. That poor old doctor was so bewildered and could not explain it none at all. But I can. When I saw those ladies that night in the living room praying over Ellen, I know I weren't dreaming. God heard our strong prayers and he sent his angels to take charge over us. My faith is alive on that fact. When I get to heaven, I know I'll see those angels again because that's what they were. And we'll dance us up a storm together on the streets of glory, yes, sir. There ain't nothing will make me believe otherwise. And that is a true story from one Mildred Carol Kane, my grandmother.
So the question remains,
That was long.
did you embellish that? Did she help you write it? How did you remember all those details?
That's the way she told it because she told it multiple times. I didn't embellish it. She told that multiple times.
Okay.
And
Well, ladies and gentlemen, meet Kevin Kane, the Charles Dickens of the 21st century. That is in his book, Thanksgiving Hen on a Chicken Shed.
Yeah.
And you can get it from him by going to myhaunteddollars.com or meeting him at, we're going to have a couple of book signings coming up, aren't we?
Yeah, another one in Gardendale in March the 18th.
And we've got a bookstore to look for. I got to get the name of it again to where they want us to come bring our books. Just you and I, no competition, but you and I. If you've got your bumper stickers, they'll be glad to have those there, along with any t-shirts or other paraphernalia that you may have. Or in the techie world of geekdom of the internet, we call it merch. Do you have any merch for sale? So,
well, right now the bumper stickers and the books and my photos.
You got time. We're going to wait after the holidays. We're going to look that other one up over there, and you and I alone will be at that place.
Okay.
No competition. So, unless Miss Catherine's got one she wants to give. Hello. I think
she
you
must
put her.
have.
You put her to sleep. Put her to sleep.
That was longer than I thought it was going to take. It was about 15 minutes.
No, I'm here. I was thinking about something.
Oh, no.
What is the creepiest thing about today's Christmases?
Oh, Lordy.
About everything you can think of. The shopping.
People are doing this thing called Elf on the Shelf.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine all these little kids that have these little elves?
Mm-hmm.
And these people are gonna have these elves, and if they die, and all these little elves are gonna be haunted with these little spirits, and they're gonna be passed down to these generations, and these kids are gonna be sharing these generational spirited elves for the rest of their lives.
Well, there's something even worse than that that's in the making that I'm sure you're not aware of yet. But I've ordered a series of Kevin Kane bobbleheads, and the popular thing now is called Kevin on the Shelf.
No, it ain't.
All right, so Elf on the Shelf. I never got into the Elf on the Shelf, but I know because I just created it. My parents and I lived in a small home that was around 90 years old. The year would have been around 1996. We lived there from the time that I was 7 years old to the time that I was 19. From the very first day that we had moved in, I felt that I was not alone. One year around Christmas time, I was having a friend spend the night. The heat had just shut off briefly, and she and I were sitting in the living room watching television when the temperature dropped substantially. As I rose to turn up the heat, the Christmas tree began to shake violently. Ornaments were falling off right and left, and she and I were terrified. We ran upstairs and lied down on my bed. My white cat curled up with us, and my door was open slightly. When I gazed out the dark hallway, I was terrified to see a tall white figure run down the hall. I turned to my friend and she acknowledged that she had seen the exact same thing. Well, she never spent the night with us again. Boy, I lost everybody. Look at that. Kevin disappeared.
I'm here.
There you go. Back. I got time for one more. That was short. My mother, to whom I was very close, passed away in 1964 when I was 17. I left home in that year and moved to Ontario from Nova Scotia. In 1969, I met a girl whom I will call Karen, and we got married in March of 1970. In December of 71, we were expecting our first child. Now, they didn't play. We were living in a small room, 1.5 bedroom bungalow. There was a fireplace in the living room. My wife and I loved the fireplace, and we had it lit every single night. It was Christmas Eve, 1971. We had just finished putting the gifts under the tree, and a nice fire gave off a beautiful glow. On the tree, one string of lights, which was supposed to flash, had stopped several days before. It was 5 minutes to midnight when the fireplace suddenly just about went out, and the string of lights started to flash, and the other lights stopped flashing. My wife and I were sitting on the floor, and it became very chilly in the room. I looked over to my lazy boy chair, and a figure was sitting there. My mother, with a big, beautiful smile on her face. My wife, who had never met my mother, said she could see the same thing. This ghost never spoke, but just kept looking at me and my wife and smiling. At midnight, the fire in the fireplace started up again. The lights on the tree stopped flashing, and the others started flashing again. And I looked over at the chair, and the ghost was gone. No matter what I did to those Christmas lights, they never flashed again. So what do you got there, Kevin? What do you got?
I got another little. This one's kind of short, little tale.
Oh, it's not another. It's not another 3-hour story.
No, it's not a 3-hour story. A 3 hour story.
Okay, Gilligan. 3-hour cruise.
I told about Hans Trapp, Hans Trapp in the first hour. And here's another one similar in Belgium and the Netherlands. They've got their version. He's called Black Peter. Now in Dutch and Belgian, they call Santa Claus, they call him Sinterklaas. And according to the legends there, he triumphed over a devilish dwarf called Zwarte Piet, or Black Peter, and made him his slave. Black Peter lives in a coal mine in Spain. His skin is black because of the soot and coal dust from the mine. His hair is singed by the fire from all the chimneys he has to climb down. He spends the year spying on the children of Belgium and Holland, taking note of who has been good and who has been wicked. On Christmas Eve, he sets out from his coal mine, squeezing himself through the narrow tunnels and riding off on his coal cart, which is pulled by a plague-ridden undead rats. Every Christmas, Black Peter is forced to accompany Santa Claus as he goes from house to house, distributing his presents. While Santa rewards the good children, Black Peter takes delight in punishing the bad ones. Children who misbehave do not receive any presents from Santa. Instead, Black Peter will leave a bundle of twigs or a lump of coal in their Christmas stocking as a warning. If the children have been really bad or have not heeded his warning, Black Peter will snatch them from their beds and throw them into his sack, which is full of hungry rats. He kidnaps the boys and girls and takes them back to his coal mine, where he chains them up and makes them his slaves. The poor children are forced to dig coal forever, while Black Peter amuses himself by poking them with sharp pins. If they ever grow too sick or tired to work, then Black Peter will just simply eat them. So, children, be good for goodness sake. So Black Peter won't come for you instead of Santa Claus or Santa Claus.
Hmm.
Ah.
Hmm.
So I went from a nice light story to an evil dark.
I know. I didn't know what to think about Black Peter. So
It's not a racial thing.
well, it
It's
sounded
from the
like
Sudan
it sounded like a racially pornographic story. So okay. On Christmas Eve night, 1978, at about 3 a.m. in Klamath Falls, Oregon, I was suddenly awakened by a choir singing. I strained to hear any words I could understand or a tune that I could identify, but I couldn't understand the language or the tune, and we were miles from the newest church, and our house was new construction. I did get a feeling of angelic exultation, reverence, and gladness of heart. This was truly a heavenly choir, lifting their voices on high, singing Hosanna in the highest in an unknown tongue without accompaniment of instruments. I examined the television. It was turned off, as was the radio. I explored outside, but the singing was not heard outdoors. The way the countless male, female, and children's voices intertwined together, the tonals going from operatic highs to the deepest bass voices in perfect harmony. It must have lasted about 10 minutes, but it was touching for an eternity. See, I'm doing nice stories, unlike Kevin. Catherine, she got anything for us, or she just smiling?
I guess she's just smiling.
I'm just smiling.
Oh.
I just smiling.
Kevin's evil voice.
Oh, shut up.
Evil.
I'm trying to save everything for New Year's Eve because I'm excited about New Year's Eve.
Well, we're going to get to New Year's Eve, but right now we're going to talk about Perchta. You ever heard of Perchta?
Perchta.
P.
Is that some kind of instant coffee?
Perchta, a Celtic goddess. It's a hardcore Santa Claus, not in a fun way.
See, Evil Stories by Kelsey.
She came in, written by Kevin King. She came up from the Alpine regions around the Middle Ages as sort of a traditions police. She made sure cultural taboos didn't get tabooed during the 12 days of Christmas, and especially on the 12th night, because she procrastinates like a college student and crams everything in at the last minute like Catherine. She would roam the frozen countryside and sneak into people's homes, just like Catherine. If the children and servants of a house had behaved and worked hard all year, she might give them a small silver coin, hiding it in a shoe or a pail. But if they were on the naughty list, Perchta would slit their bellies open, remove all their guts, and stuff the body with straw and pebbles. To get this treatment, you don't have to do too much. Girls who hadn't spun all their flax or wool that year would become Christmas straw dolls. Or even if someone ate something on their day of feast, other than the traditional foods of fish and gruel, well, everyone was up for grabs. Are you up for grabs?
Oh.
Would you like to hear about Santa Claus, the homicide detective?
Ooh.
When he was committing crimes such as breaking and entering, the French version of Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas, was out solving crimes. His specialty was murder, and if he was in a particularly good mood, he'd bring them back to life in a disappointingly non-zombie-like fashion. One such story begins with three children who got lost in the woods because, terrible things like this happen when children venture off into the woods. They stumble upon a butcher's house and they ask for help. Of course, he invites them inside. Hey, what does he do next? Of course, he fattens them up. You've heard the stories, and sends them to bed. Then he gets the worst toast of the year award by chopping them up into little bitty pieces and sticking them in a barrel of salt for petit salés, otherwise known as salty pork dish. So 7 years later, St. Nicholas decides to go for a walk in the middle of nowhere and also knocks on the same butcher's door. And when he's inside, he asks for petit salés, or salty pork dish. The butcher gets him something fresh. And St. Nicholas gives him a look and says, "Why don't you give me the meat you prepped 7 years ago, you homicidal maniac?" Okay, I just made that part up, but he probably a lot classier about it. Then he sticks his fingers in the right barrel, and the three kids magically spring back to life. And see how all my stories have a wonderful, peaceful, sweet ending to it.
What did I read earlier? I read a peaceful
horrible,
story.
scary,
Ellen
vicious, sick,
was not a horrible story.
Throwing up,
That was
ill,
an angelic.
feverish. Oh,
That was
just
an angelic.
oh, if that was
seasonal-
angelic, I hate to meet Satan. Okay.
You lie. They know. They saw. They heard right here on this. What I told you. Lie.
Why do you curse all the time?
What curse?
See, there you go again.
Look at you, evil,
You.
evil man with his ghost.
We've all heard this story. Some of those more cultured than myself might have gone out and seen the ballet. Cute as the dance may be, the story is rather horrifying. It starts with a young girl named Marie.
Marie.
She receives a nutcracker for Christmas, which her brother breaks trying to crack a particularly large nut, like Kevin trying to crack him. Oh, I'm sorry. She patches the doll up with some ribbon from her dress until her clockmaster godfather can properly fix it up. That night, while everyone's asleep, Marie sneaks back downstairs to be with the nutcracker. But as the clock strikes midnight, things go from mildly creepy doll obsession, Kevin, to a full-blown horror movie.
Kevin. Kelsey.
The rats pile into the house from seemingly nowhere. Have you checked for rats in your house?
There are no rats in this house.
Yeah, I'm talking to one. Led by the seven-headed mouse king. And let me repeat that, seven-headed. That kind of reminds you of a scripture in Revelation, doesn't it? The 700 wild beasts. Marie finds herself magically shrunk to a mouse's size. Oh, that would be a blessing for Kevin. But lucky for her.
I'm gonna blow this flip your ear in a minute.
Oh, what a loving man Kevin is. All the other dogs.
You making fun of me.
Yeah, but the Bible says love your enemy.
Yeah, smack him over the
head. Many of them toy soldiers spring to life and start battling the rats. You didn't know that was the Nutcracker toy soldiers battling rats. They're led by none other than the Nutcracker. I don't know what I think of Nutcracker. I think of Kevin. But anyway, it doesn't go too well for the dolls until Marie takes off her slipper and chucks it at the Mouse King. No. Not the guy that, what do they call that guy that is in jail? Something King? Exotic? Joe Exotic or something?
I don't know.
Distracting him long enough for the Nutcracker to kill him. Marie passes out, and when she wakes up, normal sized, oh God, poor Kevin, the room is a mess. There's 7 tiny crowns scattered around her. Years later, Marie professes her love for the Nutcracker, and that night finds herself doll-sized again. This time it's permanent, and she spends the rest of her days living with the Nutcracker. So there you go. Crack my nuts. I mean, all right, you got another story, Kevin?
Yeah.
Oh, Kevin disappeared. Are you back?
I'm right.
Yep. Oh.
Yeah,
Kevin, quit doing that, Kevin. What are you doing, Kevin?
You're the one doing it, you little. You're the one doing it.
Little what?
Well, you mentioned bad Santas early in the show. I got a bad Santa story here called Christmas tree decorations. Decorations? What's wrong with that, you ask? Well, in this story, we'll find out. It was Christmas Eve, and 11-year-old girl named Juliet was decorating the Christmas tree. Her mother was working as a nurse at the local hospital, and the two of them lived alone in the small apartment in the suburbs outside of the city. Late that evening, Juliet's mother called to say she would not be home until late that night. Juliet continued to decorate the tree with all the lovely things her mother had bought at the shop. She draped some multicolored Christmas lights around the tree and hung beautiful ornaments on the branches. After placing the angel on top of the tree, she finally finished decorating and sat down to relax and watch TV. Even though she was all alone in the sixth-floor apartment, Juliet felt safe as she gazed out across the lights at the lights of the skyline of the nearby city. From her window, she could see the tall buildings there in the middle, the banks. She could see other tenants in the building had gone home to spend Christmas Eve with their relatives, or at least were heading that way into the countryside, as she could see by the headlights going over the hill. By now, the apartment building was almost deserted. Juliet was growing bored, waiting for her mother to return. Suddenly, she thought she heard a scratching noise at the front door. She turned down the television and listened carefully. There was an eerie silence. Curious, she slowly approached the door and looked through the peephole. To her surprise, she saw a man standing outside, dressed in a red suit with fluffy white trim. He was large and fat with a dirty gray beard and wore a red hat on his head. He knocked at the door loudly. Nervous and concerned, she asked through the door, "Who's there?" "It's Santa Claus," the man replied. "Let me in. I'm cold and I'm tired and hungry." At this, a chill went down Juliet's spine. She was no dummy. She knew that whoever this creepy man was, he was not Santa Claus. "My mother isn't home right now," she said, her voice shaking, "so please leave." Peering through the peephole, Juliet watched as the man's eyes filled with anger and his face twisted into a grimace of hate. He began banging at the door even harder and rattling the doorknob. "It's Santa Claus, Juliet," he growled. "Have you laid out some milk and cookies for me, Juliet? You know how much Santa loves his milk and cookies." The young girl had a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach. How did he know her name? Then the man began kicking and pounding at the door. She peeked out again and saw him reach into his coat pocket and pull out a switchblade. He shoved the knife into the keyhole and tried to pry it open. Juliet was terrified. She didn't know what to do. "If you don't go away, I'll call the police," she shouted. All of a sudden, the knocking stopped. Juliet stood perfectly still, afraid to move. Minutes passed, and she started to think that the man might have been scared away by her threat. She slowly approached the door and looked through the peephole to see if the man was really gone. The hallway seemed to be empty. Suddenly, she saw the man running down the hallway with an axe in his hand. Juliet screamed and ran to the closet in panic. She crouched down and hid behind the coats as tears of fright rolled down her cheeks. She heard the boom, boom as the man tried to smash down her front door. There was a mighty crack as the door gave way, and the man came crashing through the splintered wood. Laughing to himself, he called out, "Juliet, my pretty, where are you, Juliet? Don't be afraid. We'll have ourselves some fun tonight. Where are you hiding?" The crazed intruder walked around the house, searching for the frightened girl. Juliet curled up in the closet, trembling with fear. She dreaded to think what he planned to do to her. Suddenly, the handle of the closet moved up and down. Then the door began shaking, and she heard the man's voice laughing. Juliet, I know you're in there, he said. Open up for Santa. Open up before I open you up. The man swung his axe and struck the closet door with a huge bang, tearing into the flimsy wood. Juliet screamed and began crying bitterly. She grabbed a wire coat hanger and twisted it into a point. She waited, her eyes wide open and her hands were trembling. There was another loud crash, and the closet doors gave way in a hell of splinters. The horrible man tore the doors off their hinges and thrust his head in between the coats. He was laughing and drooling like a madman as his huge, gnarled hands grabbed at the horrified girl. Juliet held up the pointed end of the coat hanger and bravely thrust it into the man's face. It went straight into his eye. He recoiled in pain, screaming with rage as blood flowed down his cheek. He ripped the wire out of his eye socket and grabbed Juliet by the hair. Then he dragged her, kicking and screaming, out of the closet. The man pushed her to the ground and held her tightly by the neck, leaning over her as blood spilled out his eye, splattering all over her face. His mouth twisted into a grotesque smile, and he whispered in her ear, Tonight you will be privileged, my lovely Juliet. I've got a list, and I've checked it twice. I'm here to decide if you've been naughty or nice. You can scream and beg for your life, but naughty girls get the axe, and nice girls get the knife. It was after midnight when Juliet's mother returned home. She saw the front door hacked to pieces and rushed inside to look for her daughter. Gazing around at the carnage, her eyes struggled to take it all in. Then she began screaming in absolute horror. The Christmas tree was decorated with Juliet's entrails, and her severed head was perched on top. Ah.
That was the story I was about to share.
Yeah, it was.
But the interesting thing about it is mine has the same name, the same basic story, but different twist. It ends the same way. In short, I mean, it's basically the same.
Oh.
Yeah, it's interesting. But that was what I was going to share, and you saved
Oh.
it.
I didn't mean to steal your story.
You didn't steal it. I did not own it. Okay.
Yeah.
Greek goblins. You ever heard of Greek goblins?
Greek goblins.
Southern Europe, there's a legend of the Karankunkulas goblins. Little monsters living underground throughout the year and only come up during the 12 days of Christmas. So they should be out today or tonight, whichever you prefer. Although some say they're only up for the first 10 days of Zemhera, the dreadful cold, as late December is friggin' cold. Anybody disagree with that? Most say that they're more annoying than harmful, pulling pranks, causing mischief, demanding piggyback rides from humans. Well, that's what Kevin does on his back 40. Okay. But in Turkey, it's a different story. They'll hang out on the streets at night and ask seemingly ordinary questions to passerbys. And if you don't answer correctly, the goblin will kill you. The correct answer is always kara, which is Turkish for black, not the black that Kevin was talking about earlier.
Hey, shut up. Hey, that was cold.
Another favorite hobby of the Karankunkulas is calling out to people while imitating the voices of their loved ones. That's what happens with ghost hunters, and people don't realize that. You think that it's your long past grandmother talking to you, going, "Hey, Kevin, I miss you." But it's actually Karankunkulas Coca-Colas, fooling you, luring you out into the cold in hopes that you'll freeze to death. So be careful when you're talking to these ghosts. What about Christmas werewolves? You ever heard of a Christmas werewolf?
Oh, no, I hadn't heard that yet.
The Pracolisi, Romanian werewolves of ancient lore, they love Christmas. They're like dogs who adore the winter because they get to roll around in the snow. You've seen dogs do that. When they're not killing people, that is. But the Pracolisi werewolves are unique in that they don't reproduce by biting their victims. They're the hairy, reanimated corpses of evil men who committed violent crimes and who just can't seem to get enough of that bloodletting. And if that's not bad enough, they won't stay dead. After a Pracolisi dies, it comes back again, this time as a vampire. Third time's the charm, and all that. Werewolf activity is said to increase during the Christmas season. Makes sense. Seeing wolves are social animals, they got to check in at grandma, visit the in-laws, count up on how many humans they killed this year, and set their new goal for next year. All that kind of stuff. So beware is all I can say. Beware. What do we got? We got 10 more minutes. I'm going to share one more before Kevin goes back. These days, the Christmas lads are Yule lads, if you've never heard of them. They're Icelandic version of Santa Claus, doing mostly good. Hey, watch out, it says mostly good. But back in the day, they had a bit of a record. These boys are said to be the sons of two mountain trolls, and we know what trolls are, right? They would terrorize children during the Yule season if they had misbehaved. Yeah, like people like Kevin, that's why his dolls. Each of their names describe what they do. And the English translation, because I don't speak Icelandic, is sheepcoat, which sheepcoat harasses sheep. And then gullygawk, it hides gullies to sneak into the cow shed and steal milk. Stubby, it's an unfortunate name for the shortest brother. He steals pans to eat the leftover crust. Spoon licker, otherwise known as Kevin Kane, that's obvious and disgusting.
Listen to him, just insulting me up and down. Oh, mean demon Kelsey.
And another Kevin
name.
Pot scraper, who steals leftovers from pots. Oh, wait a minute, there's another one. And this is obvious. Bowl
just
licker.
Putting me down.
Look. Now, after all those names, we'll call him door slammer. Scares the crap out of everybody in the middle of the night with his little hobby. And then Skier Gobbler loves Icelandic dairy products. Doorway sniffer. Are you a doorway sniffer?
No, I'm not a doorway sniffer.
No, I was talking to Catherine. Is she a doorway sniffer?
Oh, I don't know.
Uses her giant nose to sniff out more food?
No.
You're not? Okay. Okay, what about meat hook? Uses a hook to steal meat. And then there's sausage swiper. Oh, this is Catherine right here. She's the window peeper. And then the candle stealer. Can you believe that's the Christmas lads we're talking about here? Icelandic version of Santa Claus. What makes the lads scary is their companion, the Yule cat, that breaks dolls' legs off in the middle of the day. This beast, the Yule cat, eats children who didn't receive new clothes for Christmas. Did you give that doll new clothes?
No.
Because that's how that's the kid's fault, right? Okay. All right, go ahead, Kevin. I know you got another story for us, don't you, Kevin?
Yes, I do. We can't end it without at least mentioning Krampus, otherwise known as Kelsey. Krampus gets his name from the old German word for claw, or the old man named Kelsey. In Austria, Santa Claus is called Saint Nicholas, and his helper is a terrifying demon named Krampus, who travels with him on Christmas Eve. Krampus is a red-faced, goat-horned demon like Kelsey, who is covered in shaggy black fur like Kelsey. He, he has chains hanging from his body, and he rings a large cowbell. He has a long, wagging red tongue like Kelsey, and a tail, and carries a big stick with a large black bag. On Christmas Eve, Austrian children place their shoes on the windowsill or outside their bedroom window. While they sleep, Santa Claus and Krampus visit their house. If they've been good, Santa leaves candy and treats in their shoes. If they've been bad, Krampus beats the hell out of them with his stick. If they've been really bad, Krampus puts them in his sack and carries them off and throws them in a river. Just imagine this. It's Christmas Eve and you've just finished watching a Christmas movie with your family or singing Christmas carols by the fireside. You're settling down to sleep when suddenly an enormous shaggy monster with horns bursts into your bedroom, dragging chains and ringing a bell. He attacks you and beats you over the head with a stick while you scream for your parents to help you. Then he stuffs you into his bag and kidnaps you as your parents stand by and do nothing. Finally, he throws you into a river and drowns you. All this because you did not behave yourself during the year. The legend of Krampus became so popular that his story spread throughout Europe. Today, Krampus is celebrated on Krampus Day is celebrated on December 5th. In country towns, some men dress up in furs, heavy boots, and ghoulish masks topped with horns. Then, carrying sticks and ringing bells, they go around town visiting the houses of families with small children. When the parents open the door, the men run in and terrorize the kids. They start growling and whipping the air with their sticks. The children scream and cry. And after everyone has a good fright, the parents invite the men to sit down and have a drink. Ooh, Krampus Day sounds like fun.
Well, you do know, Kevin, that this is backed up by the Old Testament Bible teaching and the old law, the Mosaic law. Are you familiar with this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me read
Go
it to
ahead,
you.
go ahead,
Let
go
me read
ahead.
it to
Go
you.
ahead.
Deuteronomy 21, 18 through 21. You ready?
Yep.
If someone has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother and will not listen to them when they discipline him, his father and mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He's a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of his town are to stone him to death. You must purge the evil from among you. So that's an Old Testament story right there. Krampus
There you go.
did the Lord's work under the Mosaic law, just so you know. So don't be picking on Krampus. He had no power. God said, you're going to do this, Krampus. Destroy them rebellious kids.
Okay.
And that's one Old Testament, old law I can agree with right there.
Well, there you go.
Where's Ben? Oh, is it my turn again? We
Oh,
just read about it.
well,
What about the
yeah.
wild hunt? The wild hunt. We got 3 minutes. It's a very short one.
Okay.
When the winter winds blow and the Yule fires are lit, it is best to stay indoors, safely shut away from the dark paths and the wild haze. Those who wander out by themselves during the Yule nights may hear a sudden rustling through the tops of the trees, a rustling that might be the wind, though the rest of the wood is still. But then the barking of dogs fills the air, and the host of wild souls sweeps down, fire flashing from the eyes of the black hounds and the hooves of the black horses. This one takes multiple forms all across Europe. Vikings thought it was led by Odin. Southern Europeans believed it was a crazy witch lady who babysat dead kids. Somebody's got to babysit them dead kids, like Kevin babysits the dead kids in his house. Early Christian lore said it was a host of dead sinners and evildoers taking a vacay from hell. How they got a vacation from hell. But everyone agreed the wild hunt was not for mortals. To see it in person was a very bad omen, like someone you love is dying this year and you're failing all of your finals. Okay, there you go. So there you go. We got 1 minute. MyHauntedDolls.com. Kevin, do you have a book or two for sale?
Well, of course, I got a book or two for sale. This
Got a
is
book
I
or two for
showed
sale?
off earlier,
He was reading a story from
and
there.
then that's some good old country storytelling right there.
And that book has legacy to it because it was told. Yeah.
That's me and my sister sitting in my grandmother's lap there on the front cover.
And only 2 of those are left alive today.
Yeah, and then MyHauntedDolls.com. Oh, get out of the way, you stupid ad before I kick your own. There we go. MyHauntedDolls.com.
And guess what? You can buy that sticker to put on your car.
Yes.
So don't
or
hesitate.
buy a book.
You can buy the book, or you can buy all his merch.
Yeah, and if you just got to have Kindle, it's on Kindle. If you just got to have audiobook, there's a couple of them on audiobook, including this one, Crimson.
And for enough money, Kevin will come spend the night with you.
Oh, come on now.
He'll tell stories all night
You're
long.
gonna make all the freaks come out and start messaging.
Oh well, at least you won't be at least you won't be lonely.
I'm not lonely.
Are you lonesome tonight?
Oh Lord.
All right, we are gonna go and say good night. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, except Kevin's dolls, and they could not be still, because they were all haunted. They were all, and one of them, not the emo girl, but another one, we'll call her the legless one.
I'm working on it.
So if you hear one footstep, it's because she's only got one foot.
Go hop on one foot. Click,
Yeah,
click,
never tell a one-legged man to hop in. Okay.
Or join a butt kicking contest.
Hope everybody has a safe and wonderful holiday weekend. Whatever you're into, Hanukkah, Saturnalia, Christmas, whatever floats your boat. Remember, there are people that drink and drive, and there's people that don't drink and still drive awful.
Yep.
And unfortunately, there'll be a lot of people killed and harmed on our roads. And so take this as a warning. Just stay home. Enjoy home. You just turn on this and watch all our old shows and read our old books. And be safe, and whatever you do, make sure that you turn your gas off. Yeah, there's a lot of things for safety purposes you should do. We don't really know you and really don't care a lot about you, but we need the audience.
I don't care about you.
Yeah, well, we're all future corporates.
You just want their money, don't you? Look at you showing out. Look at this. Look at this.
We're not greedy. You can keep a couple of dollars. Just give us the rest. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Give me your money. Okay. Really, I'm not greedy. I'm just needy.
It's just needy.
Have a blessed night. May the good Lord rain wonderful blessings upon your little bald spot of your head. And are you off the rest of the week, or do you have to work?
No, I got to work. I got a 4-day weekend, but I got to work tomorrow and Thursday.
Okay, so you
I get
Christmas
Friday
Eve off,
and then next Monday we'll have off.
All your family coming to your house, or y'all got other plans? Or
they're coming here.
Have you got me a present under your tree? No, I
know. Well, I bye.
Yeah, called him, huh?
Well, you got one for me under your tree?
Well, yeah, I sent you that video I made. I worked my little fingers to the bone, making you a video.
Bone, showing you swallowing that sword.
No.
Oh no, the one you made with the
for your book to help you sell.
Oh,
yeah. See, he don't remember this stuff.
Oh.
And I've done other promotional material for you too.
And I've done it for you too on my podcast. I've told people to join. Go click Abnormal Alabama. Click the subscribe.
MyDatingTheDead.com. You got to buy that book.
Okay. Where's that?
Oh,
Where is that book? There it is, with the spectrophilia. Spectrophilia.
it's not a vegetable.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to overtime.
Yeah.
I got something here I'm waiting to eat. He won't let me
Okay.
go. So,
All right. Well, good.
peace
Peace.
and love.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
And there, my